Good morning, good afternoon, or good night depending on when you're watching this. How's it going, guys? I hope you are doing well today. This week we are taking a break from all things electric and we are dipping our toes into the realm of acoustics, specifically into the world of classical, for a modern guitar player's introduction into classical guitar. This video is for anyone who already knows how to play guitar and wants to dip their toes into the world of classical. No matter if you play rock, blues, metal, jazz, funk, pop, or country, this video will help you with a nice introduction into the realm of classical guitar. This video is also for the people who are considering about going to college for music, specifically on guitar, and the college they want to go to requires them to do a classical guitar audition. Believe it or not, that's where I started out. I had no idea how to play classical whatsoever, no idea how to read music, and I really wish I would have had a video like this when I started. So these are my tips and tricks to help you get into that, start out, and hopefully maybe do good on your audition. This video is going to be broken into 3 sections. All the sections can be found in the description with timestamps, so that way you can jump to each section. The first section is just going to be technical jargon like guitar, strings, nails, all that kind of stuff. The second part is going to be exercises to help you get into the world of classical and to see what classical playing is like. The third and final part is probably the shortest section. It's going to be where to go after this video, as well as pieces I recommend you learn when you're starting out. Anyway, with that being said, let's move into the technical jargon. Let's start off by talking about the fun thing. Guitars. Now, no matter what kind of guitar you have in your possession currently, you can learn classical on it. You got a steel string acoustic? Great. You got an electric? That will do. You got a ukulele? Not so much, because you're in a different tuning and you need 2 more strings, so go ahead and grab a guitar. Any guitar will do. However, if you are serious about playing classical and or going to college for classical guitar, you are going to need to invest in a classical guitar such as this one. Companies such as Cordoba, Lucero, Ibanez, Yamaha, they all make classical guitars and they all are pretty good. Now, what's the difference between a classical guitar and a normal steel string acoustic? Well, I just so happen to have one right beside me, and if I just go like this, there's some pretty obvious ones, especially up in the headstock. You can see with the classical, it's an open-faced one compared to the regular steel string, which you would see on most guitars. We go to the body, and you'll notice there are some things with the bridges. With the steel string acoustic, you have the bridge pins. With this one, you have a bridge where you have to tie the strings. Another key feature, and this is very noticeable when you pick up a steel string versus a classical, is the neck. You'll notice on most guitars that it starts out very narrow by the nuts, and as you go down, the neck gets wider, which can be seen like that. It's also very noticeable on basses as well, if I can do that. Yeah, so like very narrow up at the nuts and gets wider as you go down. That is the way it is on most guitars. On classical guitars, however, it stays the same width all the way down the neck. So the width down here is going to be the same width at the 12th fret as it is at the very last fret. So your hand will have to get used to that, but it is a really simple change. Another key feature of the classical guitars are the strings people use on them. On electric guitars, people tend to use nickel. On steel string acoustics, people tend to use bronze. In the world of classical, we tend to use nylon strings. There are many reasons why, and of course the main reason is tone. From what I just played there, it's softer than your normal steel string acoustic, as well as it has way more warmth compared to bronze strings. So I'm going to play that once again. And now I'm going to put this one down and pick up the steel string that I was holding earlier and play the exact same thing. This one has way more brightness compared to the classical, as well as it can be a bit more louder. Of course, when people think on classical guitars and they think on nylon strings, the main con that they have against them is that you have to learn how to tie. Of course, yes you do. However, there are exceptions to this. The company La Bella make ball and nylon strings that you can even put on your regular steel string acoustic, but you don't have to tie anything down the bridge, you just have to tie it up at the headstock, which is honestly a lot easier than tying stuff at the bridge. Now, Justin, could I put steel string, like bronze strings or electric strings on a classical? Yes, but I beg you not to. The reason for this is because of the tension. I've seen many horror stories with classical guitars where someone has put the wrong kind of string on, like the bronze strings, and the neck would just get all warped, like it'd be bowed so much beyond repair. And I've seen firsthand a whole bridge fly off because someone put steel strings on a classical guitar. So you can, but I beg you not to do that. Go for the nylon strings. Trust me, I beg of you. A key feature to playing classical guitar is the fact that we don't use picks, we use our fingers. Now, if you look at any picture on Google of anyone playing classical guitar and you look at their picking hands and zoom in on their nails, you're going to see that they have long nails, and that is one of the most common things you hear at classical. If you want to play classical, you have to grow nails. Well, let me tell you something. 75% of my college classical playing career I spent without nails. In fact, this is how long my nails have usually been while playing classical guitar in college. I've gotten compliments on how my tone is and people liking my tone just from playing with the pads of my fingers. So you don't need nails to play classical guitar. However, it is recommended, and I've done it before for the remainder 25% of it so far, and I do like the way it sounds, but you don't need nails to play classical. You also don't need those finger picks that look like acrylic nails and you would see lap steel players do. You don't necessarily need a thumb pick or finger picks, you just need your hand, that's it. Now let's talk about something most guitarists hate and usually cringe when they look at it. Sheet music. Now, this is where it's going to get a bit divided. So if you're playing classical guitar as just like a dipping the toes in the water hobbyist classical guitar thing, you don't need to know how to read music. If you're going to be a college guitar major or music major in general, you are going to have to learn how to read music. Now, this is where I'm going to say that I highly recommend that you learn how to read music because it will open up a field of opportunities for you, such as playing musicals, and someone can stick this in front of you, which is just like a lead sheet where you can work out the melody and all fine and dandy like this. You don't have to play anything like this thing that I just put up on screen. It's not going to get that complicated. And now, like I said, it's very beneficial to learn music theory. I'm not going to teach you any in this video because there are 1,000 of other YouTubers who can do it way better than I ever could. So go ahead and look at those people. However, I am going to help recommend you a book when it comes to learning theory as well as some classical guitar in general. It's this book, The Christopher Parkin Guitar Method Volume 1 by Hall Leonard, not sponsored by them. And this is what all the guitar freshmen in my college tend to get. This is what my guitar teacher recommends. And this book's actually how I learned how to read music and get better at classical guitar. And it features like a lot of pieces of music, a lot of little exercises, single note stuff, a lot of things including proper stance, how to restring the guitar, and like I said, how to read music. Very good resource. So, music theory, I say learn it, however you don't need it. So if most classical guitar music looks something like this and I choose not to learn how to read music, how do I go about learning pieces? Well, you do the exact same thing when I started out. Go to ultimateguitar.com. That's right, Tab is a great resource when you're first learning how to play classical music and you choose not to read sheet music. It's a very beneficial resource. Ultimate Guitar has plenty of pieces on there, and that's actually how I learned my audition piece to get into college. Ultimate Guitar is great. And of course, you can go to anywhere on Google for Tab for classical stuff, and even YouTube, and you can even find stuff like this, to where it is Tab as well as has the sheet music right above it, which is very beneficial, especially if you want to put notes with the dots on the staff. So that was like, okay, when I see this, I play the 3rd fret, the A string, for example. Tab, great resource. This is the last thing we are going to talk about technical-wise, and it goes straight into our playing exercises, and that is posture when playing classical. Now, I'm going to recommend that you start off in the way that you are most comfortable. So if you play like this, that is a great place to start, and that's how you see a lot of fingerstyle artists on YouTube play. However, when playing classical, people tend to do it like this. Take your guitar, turn it to the side to where you have the bevel going into your leg, such as this. Some of you may play like this already. However, if you grab an acoustic and do this at first, it's going to be really uncomfortable because you have to hunch over a lot to see what you're doing, and that's just going to be your natural body instinct. But if you look at any picture of a classical guitarist, you'll notice that their one leg is in the air higher than the other. And there are many ways you can do this. Of course, it's just not floating in the air. If you want, you can take a couple books and put your foot on top of it. You can even take your other foot and put it on top of the other one, giving you like this, which I do 75% of the time. Now, the other times when I play classical, I use one of these. This is just a footrest. You can get these on Amazon, Guitar Center, Musician's Friend, or whatever. And it's basically just a footstool, and it controls how high you want your leg to go. So if you want your leg this high, which is the maximum setting, go for it. However, this can also be a bit uncomfortable. Personally, for me, I just go to the lowest one because I am a 6'3" giant, so that is perfectly fine for me. And so now that we got out of the way, let's go into actually playing classical guitar. Let's start off by talking about the fretting hand. The reason for this is because it's doing the same stuff that you do typically. The real action is in the picking hand, but we're going to focus on your fretting hand at the current moment. Now it's going to do some things that you do already, however there might be a couple different things that you're not used to, for instance wide stretches like this. Or it could be just doing a lot of chords and moving notes around within the chord. And when you're learning classical music, you're going to see that oftentimes your hand is going to go into chord shapes. For example, if you're playing something like, I don't know, and you're holding out this note, you'll find, okay, so it's just a C chord. So you'll find your hand just goes naturally into a C chord, and your hand's naturally going to go into the chord positions that you would typically play when you are playing regular guitar. Anyway, I'm going to bring myself closer to the camera, and we're going to go to the picking hand. The picking hand is all about finger independence, and there's actually a really popular rock song that teaches finger independence really well. You may already know how to play it. Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. This song is great for finger independence. It also teaches the fact that your thumb gets the bass notes and your index, middle, and ring finger get the high 3 strings, leaving out your pinky, which is on brand for a lot of guitar players since we don't like the pinky finger whatsoever. But we don't need the pinky when we're playing classical guitars more often than not, so there's no reason to really worry about it. And Nothing Else Matters is going to be the basis for this exercise today. So we're going to go ahead and play it. So low E string, G, B, E, B, G. And as soon as we get back to the G, we're moving our thumb from the E string to the A string and doing it again. And then this next time, move it up to the D string. To the A string. To the E string. So in context, it's going to sound something like this. Once you get that comfortable under your fingers, we're going to add chords on top of it so you can hear how it sounds in context. We're only going to need 3 chords for this. We're going to need a G, a C, and then a D. The reason why I chose these 3 chords is because each of the strings, so the G, A, and D, has the root note for that particular chord. So the E string for the G, the A string gets the C chord, and the D string obviously gets the D chord. So we're going to do the same exercise again. But so low E string on a G chord. next string, the A string, is going to get the C chord. D string, D chord. Back to the A string with a C. Then the E string getting the G. So in context, once you get the hang of that, you can do those chords in any order to build the randomness of where your thumb goes. So D, C, D, C, G, E chord if you want, A chord if you want, B7 if you so desire, G. You can do it with any chord on any string. Typically same results, just move your thumb around until you get it. Once you get comfortable with that, it's time to add some spice, and that is holding out 2 notes at once and plucking everything around it. So for example, sticking to the G, C, and D exercise, we're going to hold out the E string as well as the G string, pluck the B, E, B. So when that's comfortable, we're going to move to the C chord, and we're going to pluck the A and the B string, then do G string, E string, B string. Once you get comfortable with that, we're going to move to the D chord, and we're going to pluck the D string and the high E string. Then we're going to move to the G, B, E. And now you'll notice something my hand did there, and that was not follow the pattern of thumb, index, middle, ring. I did thumb, thumb, index, middle. The reason for this is because you're going to do that a lot when it comes to classical pieces. You're going to tend to rely on your thumb, index, and middle finger a lot. You'll use your ring, but you're going to need it less compared to your index and middle finger. So if you want to do perfectly okay, if you want to stick to good for you. So the context of that exercise sounds like this. And then you can switch up what strings you hold out and what strings you pluck like it did there. And coming back to that thumb, middle, and index finger idea, as I mentioned before, you'll find a lot of pieces to where you'll be often playing with those 3 fingers, such as this one, Ruggiero by Gaspar Sanz. You'll see there, I use my middle finger a lot, which is perfectly okay, but it's good to build that finger independence even though you're going to be using these 3 fingers a lot. Next thing we're going to do is add hammer-ons and pull-offs. You'll actually find those quite a bit in classical music as well. And so we're just going to go to a C chord here. I'm just going to change my angle for a moment. We're going to arpeggiate C. And as soon as we get to the B string, we are actually going to hammer it on. So once you get comfortable with that, change it to a pull-off. Once you get comfortable with that, do a combination of both of them. do it with other chords, such as the D. Do something like that. The next thing to do is we are going to do Nothing Else Matters again, but add notes using your fretting hand on the high E string. Even just mess around with what notes you can pluck. Just another way of making the exercise fun. And then when you get really comfortable with that, add other embellishments in there. And now this is something that you're going to hear only from me. And that is it's perfectly okay to noodle around. That's right, someone's telling you go ahead and noodle. Me and my guitar teacher actually had a conversation about this over a FaceTime guitar lesson because couldn't meet in person for college classes, but me and him had a discussion discussing scales, saying it was perfectly okay to noodle around, so that way you drill that idea of that certain scale and that certain pattern in your head. To which got me thinking that's actually beneficial for learning different styles of music, like classical. Just pick a chord and just add certain elements to it, like take a C chord, pluck 2 strings, add a hammer on there, and just pick everything around it, move to a G chord, and just add a whole bunch of embellishments, and just noodle around on chords, arpeggiate things, add hammer-ons, add pull-offs, pluck out different notes, and just mess around, see what you can come up with. Like, take one of your favorite songs that you would typically play, like, strum-wise, and just arpeggiate all the chords and, like, do certain things to it. It can really help you drill in that classical style in your head. So go ahead and noodle around. I'm giving you the noodle pass. Noodle, my friends. And that leads us to the final part of this video. Where do we go from here? If you're really serious about learning classical guitar and really serious about majoring guitar in college, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you find a guitar teacher in your area who specializes in playing classical guitar. I find in-person lessons really beneficial compared to online ones just because in person they can see everything compared to online. You have to angle the camera in a certain way. It's all reliant on whatever Wi-Fi you're on or whatever server you're using compared to Skype, Discord, Zoom, Party Time, or whatever that Google Chrome extension is. It's very reliant on that. However, Skype lessons and Zoom lessons, they're always good also. And there's also a lot of YouTube videos you can find, a lot of Google resources, and as I mentioned, a lot of books you can find. So go ahead and do one of those if you're really serious about learning classical. And for those of you who are wanting to get straight into playing pieces, here are a couple that I recommend. Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. We already discussed this. Great one. And it has a lot of hammer-ons, pull-offs, as well as some barred chords. Really perfect. You want to stick into the rock world? Ozzy Osbourne's first guitarist, Randy Rhoads, wrote a piece called D, which is played on classical guitar. You can hear it off of Ozzy's first album, Blizzard of Oz. It is a beautiful piece. D by Randy Rhoads. Perfect for learning classical. Now, if you want to learn some actual classical pieces, here's what I recommend. And all of the songs I'm recommending you can find on ultimateguitar.com if you choose to do so, as well as sheet music somewhere online for it. Allegro Etude in A minor by Mauro Giuliani. That is that's actually the one I used for my college audition. Really nice song, really simple song, and like I said, I auditioned to college with it and I made it in. So that piece is great. Another great one is Etude in A minor by Francesco Tarrega, and that is another great one, kind of like Nothing Else Matters style. It actually has that one stretch I did earlier with the low E string 3rd fret and the high E string 7th fret. Very great piece, very beautiful piece, and nice, simple, short one. Really simple to learn. There's also a song called Spanish Romance, which it's basically a classical version of Nothing Else Matters. Something like that. There's also other pieces such as Prelude in D by Johann Sebastian Bach, really nice simple one. Canon in D by Johann Pachelbel. For all you people who like canon rock or anything that's like canon this, Canon rock is inspired by Pachelbel's Canon, really beautiful piece. And I also recommend any Andrew York piece, specifically Snowflight. Been a long time since I played that, but that is one of the first classical songs I learned, and it has a nice little triple feel. Triple, 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 triple. And Snowflight, Andrew York, great one. Andrew York writes great beginning classical guitar pieces such as Willow, Royal Plum Pudding, Sherry's Waltz. All Andrew York pieces are good. And that's it, guys. I really hope this video was able to help you out in some way and help you dip your toe into the world of classical. I'm open for any questions in the comments section, so go ahead and ask anything you want. Go ahead and leave feedback. This is the first time I've tried to do something like this, so let me know how it is down in the comments section below. If this video helped you, let me know. Leave a like. All the other things YouTubers tell you to do. Subscribe, bell notification. Do all of that, guys, and I'll see you next Monday with another guitar video. Odds are we're going to be moving back to the electric, but I'll definitely see you then, guys. Anyway, goodbye and good night.